Melissa Sue Anderson and Melissa Gilbert played sisters on Little House on the Prairie for 8 years. They smiled together on screen. They hugged in every episode, but behind the cameras, something was brewing. From 1975 onwards, crew members noticed the distance growing. One girl stayed alone in her trailer. The other played pranks with the cast. By 1980, the tension was obvious to everyone on set. When the show ended, they went separate ways and never spoke again. In June 2025, the truth finally came out. What really happened will shock you. Melissa Sue Anderson came into the world on September 26, 1962 in Berkeley, California. And her beginning was simple. Her father, James, fixed cars for a living. Her mother, Marian, stayed home and kept the family steady. Melissa was the oldest, so she often helped with her younger brother and learned responsibility early. Life was ordinary until she turned 9. During a dance recital, her instructor noticed something in the way she carried herself. There was calm in her face, confidence in her steps, and it was enough for the instructor to convince her parents to get an agent. Soon after that, she landed a Kmart commercial with only one call back. She was 9 years old, and it became her first small doorway into acting. Then at 10 in 1972, she appeared on the Brady Bunch as Millicent. Even with only a few lines, she surprised people with how steady she felt on camera. In 1973, she took a small uncredited part in Shaft's The Enforcers as Kathy Mutter. She was only a child, but she played a girl witnessing a crime syndicate and handled heavy scenes that would have shaken many kids. These early steps gave her a sharp sense of what Hollywood really was, long before most children even knew what an audition looked like. As she moved forward, things became more demanding. At 11, she already felt the pressure of TYP casting and body image. Dance had taught her to notice every small detail in her appearance, so she avoided junk food and stayed disciplined even when other child actors relaxed between scenes. She often sat alone, choosing distance over distraction. She did not want her name in headlines for the wrong reasons, so she kept her behavior clean and her focus tight. It made her look reserved, but it protected her from the traps many young actors fell into. Still, there were moments when the discipline felt like a weight. She missed out on the silly things other kids enjoyed, but she believed it was the price of staying grounded. Later, she said that being shy made her want to be perfect, and that rare mindset helped her build a stable life. During a time when many child stars were struggling to hold on, her challenges grew once she joined Little House on the Prairie at 11 and stepped into the role of Mary Ingalls. The part asked for emotional strength. One of her hardest tasks came when she had to play Mary going blind. She spent time at the Foundation for the Junior Blind studying how young people learn to live with sudden loss of sight. The research and the weight of the scenes pushed her deeper into the character. Mary never regained her sight in the show, and Melissa carried the burden of that storyline with patience and skill. Behind all that work, her real life was shifting too. Her parents divorced when she was 13. She was caught between a growing career and the strain of home breaking apart. Yet, she still showed up and delivered emotional performances that made people admire her steadiness. She kept a distance from other young cast members, staying focused and independent. And by the time she left Hollywood at 19, she had already built a level of personal growth most people reach much later in life. Her way into Little House had its own story. In 1974, she answered a casting call at just 11 years old and found herself competing with more than 500 girls for the role of Mary Ingalls. Thousands auditioned for the daughters, but Melissa's calm energy and mature presence stood out. The pilot movie aired on March 30, 1974, and suddenly she was one of the youngest leads on a national show. That moment set everything in motion. One of her first big scenes came in the pilot episode Harvest of Friends. She had to guide her blind paw through a prairie storm. She was 11 with limited experience. Yet Michael Landon wanted real emotion and strict period speech from everyone. She needed to hit her marks, hold the fear in her eyes, and deliver the moment without breaking. She later said it felt overwhelming. Still, she managed, and the episode aired in March 1974 with people praising her control and sensitivity. When Season 2 arrived in 1975, Melissa stepped into storylines that shaped how fans saw Mary. In the episode The Richest Man in Walnut Grove, she played a young tutor who brought calm and moral clarity to her family. Fans wrote letters calling her the moral compass of the Ingalls household. The filming schedule often ran 12 hours a day, but she stayed committed, reading every script carefully and keeping her focus even when she was tired. The praise from viewers helped her stay confident through the tougher filming days. Behind the scenes, she faced moments that shook her. In 1975, Aramin's plot developed between Mary and John Jr., played by Radamus Pod. Melissa's shyness made the affection scenes uncomfortable, and she finally asked the team to tone them down. They respected her feelings and rewrote scenes, something rare for a young actress at the time. It showed how aware she was of her boundaries and how much the crew trusted her instincts. Later that same year, she delivered another powerful moment in The Long Winter. There was a hypothermia scene filmed in real cold, and Michael Landon coached her through every beat. The chill was real and the strain stayed with her long after filming ended. She later admitted that it left her uneasy around cold outdoor shoots. Still, the episode aired in late 1975 with strong reactions from viewers and critics who admired her emotional strength at only 13. Another demanding challenge arrived in Season 3 with the episode The Blind Man's Dog in 1976. She worked with real guide dogs, learning their cues and body language. It took 20 takes to get each step right. She practiced under trainers and veterinarians so the movements would feel natural. This mix of emotional acting and technical skill pushed her in a way many kids never experienced. In 1977, she stepped out of the Prairie world for a moment with her role in the pilot for James at 15. She played Lacey Stevens, a girl dealing with divorce and complicated feelings. She was still under contract with Little House, so people wondered if she planned to leave. She was only 15, yet already showing a range that surprised critics. The pilot did not become a series, but her performance made industry people look at her differently. Her strongest wave of recognition came during Season 4 between 1977 and 1978 in the episode I'll Be Waving As You Drive Away. She had to perform a long emotional monologue about Mary's mother. She reached deep into her own memories of her parents' divorce to bring truth into the scene. Michael Landon was moved and pushed for an Emmy nomination. In 1978, she became the only Little House cast member ever nominated for lead actress in a drama series. Viewers said they cried with her. Critics called it one of the most heartbreaking moments on television. Then came a shock in 1978. During a schoolhouse fire scene, the pyrotechnics malfunctioned. Flames jumped too close, singed her costume, and sent fear rushing through her. She had her first onset panic attack and demanded better safety rules afterward. Director kept it to 2 takes. Viewers talked about that moment for years and saw it as proof that she could show sorrow with a painful truthfulness. Then came Survival of Dana in May 1979. It was a CBS TV movie filmed on location in Los Angeles, including Sepulveda Dam and Enino. She played a North Dakota teen trying to adjust to the San Fernando Valley. The producers pushed her to improvise lines about loneliness and feeling out of place. And she drew on her own quiet moments living far from home. Dina faced bullying and identity struggles, and Anderson brought real pieces of herself into the role. The project helped her slip out of the Mary Ingalls shadow for the first time. It was the story that convinced many people she could handle modern teen drama with real depth. Only a year earlier in 1978, she had already taken on Blind Journey in Season 7. Mary was blind by then, trying to travel with a wagon train over rough land without her parents. To prepare, she trained with a foundation for the junior blind, where she learned real Braille and practiced using a cane. During filming, she did scenes without help, even crossing uneven ground that once caused a minor ankle sprain. Viewers believe her so completely that some wrote letters thanking the show for respecting the idea of permanent disability. Her work during this storyline became one of her defining performances. People still talk about how real she made blindness look on television in the late 1970s. In 1980, she stepped onto the Love Boat as Jennifer Chubb Smith, a teen battling insecurities about her body. It was the opposite of Little House and included swimsuits, water scenes, and a focus on her appearance. She later admitted she felt objectified because the role cared more about how she looked than what she could act. Still, taking that part taught her how hard it was to break out of an image people thought they already knew. The episode aired when TV was starting to explore body image for teens, but her own discomfort showed how tricky those roles could be behind the scenes. Then there was the 1979 fire at the blind school in May. We Make Them Proud. It was a two-part episode that took Mary's baby and her teacher Alice Garvey. Melissa Sue Anderson has said many times that she cannot rewatch it. The explosions, the smoke, the grief, all of it felt too real. The set had heavy pyrotechnics, and she said the fear stayed with her long after filming. The public praised the episode for its emotional weight, but for her it left scars she carried quietly. In February 1981, she shifted into horror with Midnight Offerings. She played Vivian Sutherland, a telekinetic teen caught in a dark fight involving witchcraft. They strapped her to wires for levitation effects, and she felt anxious hanging in the air. The scenes were intense, and the supernatural elements blended into her dreams at night. She even needed therapy to help with nightmares. The film was part of a wave of teen horror movies on network TV, and it pushed her into territory that tested her mind as much as her craft. In 1982, she left Little House after season 8. Her last episode was He Was Strange, She Was Crazy. She cried as she said goodbye to the Walnut Grove set she had known since childhood. She was 19 and afraid of being stuck as Mary Ingalls forever. She said many times that she wanted new challenges. Some tabloids claimed she was fired for attitude, but she later explained that she turned down a salary cut and the exit was mutual. She set the record straight again in 1984, pointing out that it was her choice because she wanted a wider career and not because of any trouble behind the scenes. That same period brought one of her boldest turns. In the 1981 slasher film, Happy Birthday to Me, she played Virginia Wainwright, a student at an elite New England academy. The movie became famous for its wild murder scenes. They used more than 100 gallons of fake blood during shooting, and she spent days covered in it. At one point, she was even written as the killer. But the writers changed their minds because she was too good at playing the sweet, innocent girl. They built a latex mask off her face for the twist ending. She talked about how the blackout and brain injury storyline was inspired by real cases she had read about. It gave the whole performance a tense psychological layer that horror fans still remember. In 1982, she returned to television in An Innocent Love, where she played Molly Rush, a college freshman falling into a controversial relationship with a 14-year-old math tutor. The topic drew national attention. She prepared by researching real cases of teen exploitation and age gap issues. She even pushed producers to soften certain scenes so the movie would not cross into sensationalism. They shot it at the University of Washington, and she blended into class to study how students moved and talked. When it aired, critics were split. Some praised her sensitivity while others worried about the premise. Still, it proved she could take on difficult stories with maturity. A year later in 1983, she starred in First Affair as Toby King. The plot followed a college freshman pulled into an affair with a professor. To make it feel real, she went to UCLA and spent weeks attending classes in secret. She listened to lectures, watched how students spoke to professors, and even turned in fake assignments. The campus locations gave the film an authentic look. The topic stirred more debate about what belonged on network television, but reviewers singled out her performance. They said she grounded the drama with a calm, believable approach that came directly from her careful research. It all began on a quiet October night in 1984 when Melissa Sue Anderson stepped into the world of murder. She wrote and played Eve Crystal in Hoey for Homicide. The episode aired on October 28th, and she found herself on a busy Hollywood set, standing across from Angela Lansbury. Working with her was an education of its own. Angela loved to improvise and shift things on the spot, and Melissa had to keep up. She later said those moments taught her how to bend with sudden changes and still stay steady inside the scene. It awakened a new interest in directing because she started noticing how every change behind the camera affected everything in front of it. The episode itself felt bold for the series because it relied on long flashbacks and even showed the murder on screen in a way the show usually avoided. Most of it was filmed on location and every room carried